This is 1-year-old Golden Retriever Cooper, and today we are at Home Depot working on all sorts of things, including his leash work mainly, but also a little bit of obedience. We're doing some scent work, and we're also just getting him on top of a couple things just for good measure. The owners don't really have any current complaints about him. He's a lovely boy. They really just want to get him some extra enrichment, some exercise, and then also just to brush up on some of his leash skills, obedience, and training. We're going to start with some figure eights and see how bendy and loose he is. But the other thing I want to start working on with him that I have been kind of working up to is these scoop ups. So turning towards him and making sure that his feet are yielding to my feet is such an important skill, especially if you have a really reactive dog or anxious dog or just a really excitable dog. The scoop up is a really good way to make sure that the dog is comfortable being behind you and agreeing with you and following along. I don't mind if a dog wants to sniff and be a dog, and it's not always that they're right there next to me, but I want them to be comfortable there, and I don't want them to feel like they have to fight me to be in the leadership position. So here's where he gets a little sticky through his figure eight. I just want to bring him behind me before I ask him for a calm, quiet sit. Now, Cooper did my puppy class, so I know that he has this skill. However, it's a little bit more challenging here because it's a lot more distracting. There's a lot more things going on. So when I'm asking him to sit, I'm also keeping track of, are we staying out of the way? What's coming? Because we have a clear shot down to the entrance of the building through here, so there's a lot of distractions that could pop up. I'm going to go ahead and ask very gently. I just hover my hand. I don't touch him or anything. He does a big stress yawn and tells me that is a lot of pressure. He's not quite sure he can do this right now. So I say, it's okay. Let's just go back. Let's loosen up our bodies. Let's connect again and reset. Let's try it again. So I lift, I hold, and I wait. I think I do tell him to sit, and I give him a good boy because I do feel that he likes that really positive affirmation feedback, and that is fine with me. I'm going to ask one more time now that I've adjusted the slip leash up. I'm always keeping my head on a swivel, especially when I'm at kind of the front of the aisle where anyone could come around the corner. I'm lifting and holding and waiting, and I think this is the time that there's a little bit too much going on. He gets a little too frustrated, and I say, hey, I know you know what to do. I know that this is a little overwhelming, but also if you just sit your butt down and you connect with me, the pressure goes away. But I think there's something that starts to make a little bit too much noise, and that tells me that we're probably not going to get the calm, quiet sit, so we're going to bail out again. We're going to go back to a figure eight or two, and I do something with him that I don't normally do with dogs, which is to just tell him to sit. So I give him the cue with the leash, and then I tell him to sit, give him a little bit of affirmation, so that way he understands what he did to get rid of the pressure. So now we're headed out to another aisle. I'm going to kind of show you what all of this looks like when it's from this perspective. I'm also going back a little bit to the invitation where I let him go ahead of me. I back up. When he looks at me, I say yes and toss a treat. Now I kind of like that he's able to follow the treat. I don't know that he could follow it at our first visit, which was a couple weeks ago, but this is the fourth hour that Cooper and I have spent together. The first hour we were here at Home Depot. The other two we went on a hike. And then today we are back at Home Depot. So we've had some chances to build some skills and to bond and to hang out, do fun things together, working on our recall, working on a long line. But this is kind of what this looks like from this perspective. We're asking for figure eights. I'm asking for him to come behind me, and then into a scoop up. I'm letting him go out ahead, figure eighting all the way behind me. I block him from going over to the right side. He really likes to dive to my right side, but I'm asking him to come to the left side, asking him to turn towards me, and then just taking a minute to pause, because sometimes this can feel like a roller coaster where the dog is just being whipped around this place and that place. So I give him a little pause. Now we're gonna head out again. Now, if you notice, he's kind of just hanging out 1 to 2 steps ahead of me, and so I get into a different aisle where I can allow him to use up some of this energy. We're going to work on our let's go. This aisle's nice and wide. There's nothing in the way. Nobody's coming. So I'm just going to let him get some of this extra energy out while still building pack drive by adding in the turns. So I'm letting him go ahead, get out in front of me. I'm turning, saying let's go, and then the leash is going to remind him to come with me. I love these little check-ins, so I'm going to eventually ask him to check in with an invitation. I'm going to back up and yes when he looks at me, One big improvement I am seeing since our first session is that he is more treat motivated and he's able to take treats both from my hand and off of the ground. So we're going to go back over and work our obedience in a different aisle. So I'm just making sure that the camera's set up in a way that you can see everything. I am a big advocate for teaching a down from a stand. A down can be so much more useful and a dog can hold it for much longer than they can a sit. So here I'm just showing him that when he's in his down, he gets paid now. I know he took my puppy class, so he knows this word, he knows to hold it, but he is in a much more distracting environment, so he likes to pop out of it. When he does, I just remind him to come back down. I don't always pay him immediately after I correct him, but I do help him get there and remind him that if he's in that down, he's going to get paid, and he stays there until he hears the break. That's the signal that he can get up. Now, when I go to stand up, I know that's a higher risk time for him to get up, so I'm ready with a treat to remind him to stay in a down, even if I go to stand up. His job is to wait for that release word. Now, one of the other things that we wanted to work on is Cooper's proprioception. One of the things he really likes to do is get his front end up into the car, but make you lift his back end into the car, and this is something that could be a little biomechanical, but I also just want to help him build awareness of those back feet so that eventually one day he can jump himself into the car. So we're working on just finding things that he can put all 4 feet on top of. This is a really nice height for him to work at, so he doesn't have to actually work too hard to keep track of those back feet. Now we're gonna go back and drill our leash skills again, but I wanted to show you an exercise I really like to do, but I'm gonna show you from this perspective and then also from a different perspective. So if your dog is walking like he does, where they're just like 1 to 2 steps ahead of you and just hanging on the leash, this is a great exercise. So what you're going to do is you are going to let your dog get out ahead of you. You're going to back up and bring your dog towards you and then back behind you on the same side. So you let them get out, you back up, you bring them towards you, back over to the same side, make sure they go all the way behind you. Cooper wants to cheat a little bit. And then I immediately go into a scoop up, usually. So this is where I'm turning towards the dog. The first cycle I did it. The second time there, I just continued to walk straight. So this is what that looks like from this perspective. There are sliding doors there that get him a little bit distracted. So when he's too distracted, I just pause and wait. But I'm going to walk towards the camera. I'm going to let him get ahead. I'm going to back up, bring him over back to the same side behind me. He got a little distracted by the doors again. And then immediately into a scoop up. Now the scoop up can be a little bit corrective. It interrupts the dog quite a bit, so it can feel a little abrupt, but that's somewhat of the point of this, especially with our happy, goofy dogs. We want them paying attention in a way that they're ready for us, whether we're walking in a straight line or we're making a really quick turn. They're at least tuned in enough to be able to follow and agree with us. So here I'm just adding a couple more figure eights, so backing up, bringing him back to the same side. He kind of gets a little sticky, so I back up a little bit more to bring him all the way over. He gets distracted, and this is probably just him at the end of the lesson, but adding in that scoop up, whether he is interested in this or interested in that, and I actually really like that he looked up at me very gently and he said, "Oh, okay, sorry, I wasn't paying attention for a little bit." So we'll wrap up the lesson with a little bit of scent work. This is an activity I absolutely love to give to dogs. Going into Home Depot, Pet Supplies Plus, or any of these other places where it's just like a lot of noises, a lot of sounds, a lot of people, a lot of distractions, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to dogs. So giving them a purpose, giving them a task to do that makes sense to them in these really distracting environments can help them ground themselves and make more sense of what the heck they're even doing in this store. So I hid a couple treats around the area for him to find, and he's gotten 2 of them already. There's one on the corner of that black chair there. He got one that was right there by the water bottles, but there's one right there in the corner that he kind of keeps skipping over. I usually will just tell him to find it, and I start to give hints as he starts to feel like maybe he can't do it. There's also one hidden in between a navy blue cardboard box and a regular cardboard box over here to my right, which he's going to go to in just a second. And I think he finds that one. So in between the Hampton Bay and the cardboard at the very base of that, there's a little treat right there. So I'm just pointing to it, encouraging him to find it, and then my body language will get more pointed towards it as he struggles to find it until he does find it. So here is the one that he's really struggling with. I point to it in just a second because you can tell he's a little like frantic about I don't know if there's still one here. I don't know if he can't smell it. It's off the ground a little bit. It's kind of a hard one. I find that most dogs really struggle with it being on the base of a chair. So it's right there in the intersection in that corner, right there. And he's just really struggling. So eventually I just end up pointing to it and he's able to find it. So this is what I mean about you can make the hide really obvious and it can still be a big challenge for your dog. There was one right there, so he got that one. And then this last one was so challenging. I end up pointing at it and he says, I can't find it. I feel like it's here somewhere. These, I don't know, for whatever reason, putting them on bars like this makes it so much more difficult for so many dogs. And eventually he just ends up lying down, so I just give it to him because I could tell he was frustrated. But we really had a good time at Home Depot. If you guys have watched this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.